It was a cold and rainy evening in Chicago. Near the railway station, inside a small coffee shop, a 72-year-old man sat alone in the same corner every single day. The workers there had memorized everything about him: the old black coat he always wore, the untouched cup of coffee in front of him, and the way he stared at the door for hours, like he was waiting for someone who never came. One evening, the young waitress finally gathered the courage to ask him, "Sir, you come here every day. Are you waiting for someone?" The old man stayed silent for a few seconds. Then, slowly, with trembling hands, he pulled out an old yellow letter from his coat pocket. He looked at it carefully and whispered, "Her." His name was Robert Miller. 45 years earlier, Robert had been a struggling musician in New York City. He had no money, no fame, and no real future ahead of him. All he had was an old guitar and a dream that felt impossible. Every evening, he played songs near Central Park to earn enough money to survive. And every evening, hidden quietly in the crowd, there was always one girl listening to him. Her name was Emma. Emma worked in a small bookstore nearby. She never missed one of Robert's performances. At first, she only listened from a distance, but one rainy night, after the crowd disappeared, she finally walked toward him. "You sing like someone hiding pain," she said softly. Robert smiled for the first time that entire day. "And you smile like someone hiding tears." That was the beginning of everything. Soon they became inseparable. They spent their days eating cheap pizza slices, riding subways with no destination, and walking through New York streets late at night while talking about dreams, fears, and the future. They had almost nothing, but somehow they were happier than everyone around them. Emma believed in Robert when nobody else did. Whenever he wanted to give up music, she would hold his hand and say, "One day, the world will hear your songs." And every time she said it, Robert believed her. Because to him, Emma was home. A few years later, Robert's life suddenly changed. A major music company from Los Angeles offered him a contract that could make him famous. It was the opportunity he had dreamed about his entire life. But there was one problem. He had to leave immediately. When Emma heard the news, tears filled her eyes, but she forced herself to smile. "Go," she whispered. "Don't destroy your dream because of me." That night, they sat together for hours without speaking much. Before Robert left, Emma handed him a handwritten letter. "Read this only when you miss me too much." Robert kissed her forehead and promised, "I'll come back for you." Then he left for Los Angeles. At first, Robert called Emma every single day. Then every week. Then slowly, the call stopped. Success changed everything. Robert became famous. Concerts, interviews, fans, money. The entire world suddenly knew his name. People screamed for him everywhere he went. But while the world was gaining a star, Emma was slowly losing the man she loved. Every birthday, she baked his favorite chocolate cake, even though he wasn't there. Every Christmas, she wrapped a gift for him that never got opened. Every night, she checked her mailbox, hoping to see a letter from him. But nothing ever came. Their song. The same song he once wrote for Emma in New York. And suddenly, after decades, every memory came rushing back at once. That same night, Robert booked a flight to New York. The next morning, he stood outside Emma's old apartment building with shaking hands. But another family lived there now. His heart sank. As he turned to leave, an elderly woman from a nearby apartment stared at him carefully. "You're Robert, aren't you?" Robert slowly nodded, unable to speak. The woman's eyes filled with sadness. "She waited for you," she whispered. "For years." Robert felt his chest tighten. Then the woman handed him a small box. Inside were old photographs, movie tickets, and one unopened letter. Emma's final letter. Robert's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside, Emma had written, "Dear Robert, if you're reading this, maybe life finally slowed you down enough to remember. Emma." By the time Robert finished reading, tears were falling uncontrollably from his eyes. Then the old woman quietly said, "Emma passed away 7 years ago." In that moment, Robert completely broke down. For the first time in his life, all the fame, money, and success felt meaningless, because the only person who truly loved him spent her entire life waiting for him, while he was too busy chasing the world. From that day on, Robert started visiting the same coffee shop Emma used to love. Every evening, he sat in the same corner with the same cup of coffee, staring at the door like he was hoping time would somehow reverse itself. One snowy evening, the waitress softly asked him, "So, are you still waiting for her?" Robert looked outside at the falling snow and smiled sadly. "No," he whispered. "I come here because this was her favorite place." Then, with tears in his eyes, he quietly said the words he should have spoken decades earlier. "I'm sorry, Emma." And for the first time in many years, Robert finally understood that losing someone is painful, but nothing hurts more than realizing too late how deeply they loved you.